In this video, we'll be taking a look at the 2024 electoral map based on Polymarket's updated election forecast. With just 40 days to go until the election, Trump has retaken the lead on the electoral map, and today we're going to take a look at where Harris and Trump stand on the path to 270 electoral votes based on Polymarket's updated forecast. We're going to begin on the West Coast with Washington, Oregon, and California, which are all going to be solid blue states. A solid state is one in which Kamala Harris has a 95% chance or more of winning, and in Washington and California, she has a 98% chance at victory and 97 in Oregon. Nevada, however, is going to be more competitive. We can see the odds are nearly neck and neck, but if you look closer, you can see here that Trump does indeed hold the lead in the Silver State. This is the state that no Republican has won in any election since 2004, when George W. Bush won his second term. Nevada went to both Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden by 2.4% in 2016 and 2020, but this time around, Trump is in a much better position to win a state that has been shifting to the right over the last few years. Nevada elected a Republican governor in 2022, and Trump right now is poised to flip the Silver State. It is going to be tilt Republican. There's no doubt Nevada is going to be close, but Trump is now once again the favorite. Next up, in Arizona, out of all 7 of the swing states, this has become the most conservative. In fact, Trump's odds in Arizona are higher than his odds in both North Carolina and Georgia. Trump is dominating in Arizona polling. He has a 63% chance at winning the state and has led in all 8 of the most recent polls released from the state. This was a state that Joe Biden won in the last election, and today it's pretty clear Democrats are very unlikely to win it again. This is a state that Trump won by 4 points back in 2016. He's probably going to win by that margin once again in 2024 against Kamala Harris. So Arizona is going to be a lean red state. Next up, in Colorado and New Mexico, Kamala Harris is the overwhelming favorite, but what you have to remember is that Polymarket does not show you with the margins in each of these states, simply the chances of winning for both candidates. And in terms of Kamala Harris's odds in Colorado and New Mexico, they really are quite high. These are 2 states that haven't gone red since 2004. Joe Biden won both of them by double-digit margins in 2020. That obviously is not going to happen again. Kamala Harris is going to perform much worse than the incumbent president, but she is still on track to win these states, albeit by much lesser margins. And so in Colorado, Kamala Harris has a 98% chance at winning. This is going to be a solid blue state, while in New Mexico, she is a little bit shakier. She has just a 92% chance at winning, and I do expect New Mexico to only become more competitive in future election cycles as Hispanic voters continue to shift away from the Democratic Party, and New Mexico is, of course, the only state with a Hispanic majority electorate. And so right now, it's going to be likely blue, but in a decade or so, it's probably going to be a lean or even tilt blue state. Moving on to Texas, if you remember back in 2020, the odds here were pretty neck and neck. In fact, Joe Biden at some points had a 30 to maybe even a 40% chance at flipping the Lone Star State. That is absolutely not the case anymore. The Republicans have an 89% chance at holding on to Texas. Trump has done well in the last 2 election cycles. He won it by 9 points in 2016 and by 6 in 2020, when the polling said that Joe Biden was only going to lose the state by 1%. And so today, Texas is easily on track to go to Trump for a 3rd time in a row, 89% to 12 for Kamala Harris. The former president is going to dominate down south. Texas is going to be likely red. And then in these states here in the middle of the country, Trump is going to win every single one of them. Utah, Wyoming, Idaho, Montana, North and South Dakota, all of Nebraska except the 2nd district, which is going to be likely blue. Kamala Harris has an 88% chance at winning there. Trump, though, will also win Kansas, Oklahoma, and Alaska, which is going to be likely red. And then Hawaii is going to be solid blue. So with the western half of the U.S. filled in, Trump takes an early lead with 100 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 94. Trump has already flipped both Nevada and Arizona. Before we continue, 81% of you guys are not subscribed, so please take the time to subscribe right now for more content like this leading up to the election in November. And join my Discord server to chat with me personally. Link in the description below. Moving up to the Midwest now, this is going to be where the election is going to be decided. It will be make or break for Kamala Harris. Trump has already flipped 2 states. Kamala Harris must win Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania if she wants to have any chance at getting to 270 electoral votes. If she loses even just one of these states, even if it's Wisconsin, which only has 10 electoral votes, she is going to lose the election entirely. And so we're going to start off in Minnesota, which is Governor Tim Walz's home state. It's the only reason why Harris is winning. If she did not choose Minnesota's governor to be her running mate, the state would probably be tilt red at this point. If Joe Biden didn't drop out, there's no doubt Trump would be the favorite in a state that no Republican has won since 1972. And so looking at odds in Minnesota today, Kamala Harris has a 93% chance at winning. Again, these are her odds of winning. This has nothing to do with her margin. It's probably going to be pretty small. She's probably not going to win the state by more than 5 points, but as of right now, she is the favorite in terms of winning it at all. So Minnesota is going to be likely blue. And then down in Iowa, this is a state that's been very contentious in the past. That is no longer the case. Donald Trump has made Iowa a solid red state. Its Republican governor won her re-election by 20 points in 2022, and today Donald Trump has a 92% chance at winning Iowa for a 3rd time in a row. It is going to be likely red on our map. Meanwhile, Illinois is going to be safe blue, while Indiana is going to be safe red. But up in Wisconsin, we have a highly competitive race. This is another one of those 7 swing states. It went to Trump by a close margin in 2016. Joe Biden then won it by an even smaller margin in 2020. And today, Kamala Harris has a 56% chance at winning, according to Polymarket. Now, this is basically even. 56-44 is essentially a tie. There's no doubt Wisconsin is going to be competitive, but I personally still do have the state going in favor of Donald Trump. He's doing much better there than he was in 2020. In 2020, he was supposed to lose Wisconsin by 8 percentage points, according to the polls. He eventually lost it by 0.63. Today, the polls show a virtual tie between Harris and Trump. So just based on the odds, Wisconsin is going to be tilt blue, but this is a rating that I personally disagree with. Continuing on now with Michigan, this is another incredibly close state. 15 electoral votes. Out of all 7 of the swing states, it probably is the most liberal, with Kamala Harris currently on track. Next up, in the Buckeye state of Ohio, we have a similar story to that of Iowa. It used to be very close. Trump made the state very uncompetitive back in 2016. He won it by nearly 10 points. He won it by the exact same margin again in 2020. The Buckeye state is no longer competitive. Trump has a 93% chance at winning. There's no doubt Trump is going to win Ohio for a 3rd time in a row. And then in Pennsylvania, the final swing state in the Midwest, this is make or break now for both candidates. It's probably going to be the most important state in the entire country, and Donald Trump has recently retaken the lead here, just like he did in Nevada. According to the odds, you essentially have a 50-50 market, but slightly, Trump has a small lead. And so if you look at the map here, actually, you'll see that Donald Trump holds a slight advantage, and so Pennsylvania is going to be tilt red. This is a state he's won before. He won it back in 2016 by 0.72%. Joe Biden won it by basically the same margin in 2020, but as the entire Midwest shifts to the right, and also the fact that Kamala Harris is nowhere near as strong of a candidate as Joe Biden was in 2020, there's no doubt that Trump is going to win the Keystone State this time around. I personally can see him winning by 2 percentage points or more. The scenario in 2020 was very different from the environment we're in today. Donald Trump was facing a worldwide pandemic as well as a national recession, but today that is no longer happening. Those are no longer features that serve to help the Democrats, and with Kamala Harris being a significantly worse nominee, there's a reason why she wasn't able to win the Democratic nomination in 2020. She's the nominee because Joe Biden endorsed her and dropped out super late. If there was a primary, I would be pretty confident that the person at the top of the Democratic ticket would not be the vice president. Moving up now to the Northeast, many of these states have a decades-long history of voting for Democrats, and so in terms of Harris's odds of winning, she is going to win pretty much every single one of them. Even if states like New York or New Jersey are going to be much more competitive than they've been in the past, it is still extremely unlikely that he's actually going to be able to win them. And so New York, New Jersey, they will be solid blue, as well as Vermont, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware, Maryland, battle in the District of Columbia and the 1st District of Maine. We do, however, have slightly more competitive races in both New Hampshire and Maine. These are two states where Harris is favored. Joe Biden won them by nearly double digits in 2020, but Trump is going to give Harris a run for her money here like he did with Hillary Clinton back in 2016. He lost New Hampshire by less than half a percentage point, and he lost Maine by less than 3. And so today, Kamala Harris is definitely the favorite, but she is not going to perform even close to as well as Joe Biden did. In New Hampshire, she's an 89% chance at winning, while in Maine, her odds sit at 90. So we have two likely blue states in terms of Harris's odds of winning, and then the 2nd District of Maine is going to be likely red, with Trump having an 88% chance of winning the district for a 3rd time. Moving down now to the Southeast, most of these states are going to be dominated by the former president. He's easily going to win Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and South Carolina. Every single one of those states is going to be safe red. Virginia, though, is going to be much more competitive. Kamala Harris is still the favorite. She is still probably going to win, but I currently have it as a lean blue state in terms of the margin. I see her winning it by just 2 points, a state that Joe Biden carried by double digits in the last election. But since then, Virginia has shifted to the right. They elected a Republican governor, a Republican attorney general, and a Republican lieutenant governor back in 2021. Kamala Harris isn't really polling that well in Virginia, but considering its Democratic history, she is still probably going to win. She has an 87% chance at carrying the state this November, and so Virginia is going to be likely blue in terms of Harris's odds of winning, but I can definitely see this state going down to the wire. It is definitely one to watch. Next up, in North Carolina, this race is becoming slightly more competitive than it was before because of Mark Robinson's gubernatorial campaign. He's been exposed for saying things on a porn site. Whether or not that was true, it is definitely hurting him, and it's probably going to hurt Trump just a little bit, but I'm still fairly confident that Trump is going to be able to win the Tar Heel state for a 3rd time. This is the only one out of these 7 swing states that Trump won in both 2016 and 2020. He won it by 8 years ago, and then he won it by just over 1% 4 years ago. And so today, Donald Trump has a 56% chance of winning North Carolina. He is still definitely the favorite. He's probably still going to win it, but Mark Robinson has not helped him in the state. He should probably drop out, but it's too late for that. But in the end, it's not going to matter too much to the presidential race. Donald Trump is the clear favorite, and he is going to carry North Carolina again. According to the odds, it is going to be tilt red. Down in Georgia, we have a state that's going to vote pretty similarly to Arizona. It was another very close state that Biden flipped in 2020. Again, this was under incredible circumstances for the Democrats. Today, they no longer have the benefit of a recession and a pandemic, and so Kamala Harris only has a 39% chance at winning here. Trump is the clear favorite with a 61% chance. If you look at the polling from Georgia, you essentially will see a giant red wall. Trump leads in every single recent poll from the Peach State. He is going to win Georgia back, a state he won by 5 points back in 2016. He can probably win Georgia by pretty close to his 2016 margin, and so it's going to be lean red according to our map. And finally, in Florida, this used to be the center of everyone's attention when it came to elections. It had a lot of electoral votes, and in the past, it has single-handedly decided elections. It gave the race to George W. Bush in 2000. In 2012, it was the only tilt state on the map. In 2016, it was once again decided by a tilt margin, but then in 2020, the polls said that Joe Biden was going to win Florida, but not only did he lose it, he did worse than Hillary Clinton 4 years prior, and today, Florida is much more conservative than it was even just in 2020. In 2022, they re-elected their Republican governor and their Republican senator by solid red margins. Now, on the presidential level, the state is going to be slightly more competitive this November. Donald Trump has an 84% chance at winning. He can probably win by 7 percentage points or more, and so the Sunshine State is going to be likely red on our map. And so according to Polymarket's updated 2024 election forecast, Donald Trump is on track to win 287 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 251. You can check out the forecast yourself at polymarket.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe right now for more content like this leading up to the election in November, and follow me on Twitter for daily political updates. Link in the description below.